and more equitable in your time?
Oh, I was equitable in my time.
Okay.
See, that's where the lie is. I had one of my children complaining that I was always at one wife's house.
And whose house was that?
Oh, it was Robyn's. Robyn's the blame for everything. And this is the why. She's, when I say she's the blame for everything,
Kody Brown has always prided himself on being the confident head of the Sister Wives family. But in the season 19 tell-all, that mask finally slipped. Sitting across from host Sukanya, his patience cracked wide open. The moment she pressed him about his treatment of his wives, especially the favoritism toward Robyn, his temper flared in a way that shocked even longtime viewers. It wasn't just defensiveness, it was rage. And for the first time, it felt like the weight of years of broken promises, fractured marriages, and lost children had cornered him on national television. That outburst didn't happen in a vacuum. Behind it lies the bitter property battle over Coyote Pass, Christine's fearless truth-telling that Kody abandoned all of his wives, and Meri's painful admission that her bond with Robyn may never have been real. And as the family struggles with legal fights and broken trust, they've also been forced to face the most heartbreaking tragedy of all, the sudden loss of Garrison, a wound that no amount of spin can ever hide. Hi friends, I'm Sarah, and welcome back to TLC Sister Wives Daily. If you've been following this journey with me, you know we dig deep into the real story behind the drama, the heartbreak, and the moments TLC doesn't sugarcoat. So make sure to hit subscribe and drop a comment below, because today we're unpacking exactly how Kody's meltdown exposed the crumbling foundation of the Brown family once and for all. Season 19's tell-all was never going to be easy. After years of fractures and public battles, fans tuned in with one burning question. Would Kody finally be held accountable? The buildup had been relentless. 3 marriages gone, Robyn standing as the lone wife, and the family's dream of unity at Coyote Pass lying in ruins. Viewers had seen the cracks forming all season. But this was the moment when every unspoken tension was dragged into the open under the studio lights. Sitting opposite Sukanya Krishnan, Kody was already on edge. Sukanya did not waste time with soft questions. She asked what fans had been shouting at their screens for years. Why does it always look like Robyn comes first? Why did the other wives feel abandoned while Robyn received every ounce of his energy and protection? For a brief moment, Kody tried to deflect with his usual rehearsed lines, claims about loyalty, family values, and his supposed sacrifices. But Sukanya pressed harder, reminding him of the countless times his wives themselves had voiced the same concerns. That's when it happened. When she asked if he would ever consider living polygamy again, if he truly still believed in the principle he once preached so fiercely, Kody's face twisted with anger. His voice rose, his body leaned forward, and all the simmering frustration poured out. It wasn't just a defensive father or husband speaking, it was a man cornered by his own contradictions. The more he tried to explain, the more he unraveled. And then came the blow that no one could ignore. Christine, calm but unflinching, looked him in the eye and said he hadn't just abandoned her, or even Meri or Janelle. He had abandoned all of them. The studio fell into a heavy silence. Kody's temper met Christine's truth head-on, and for once, he had no clever retort. Her words carried the weight of years of neglect, and you could almost feel the air leave the room. For fans, that moment was crystal clear. The Kody Brown who had once sold the dream of a unified plural family was gone. What stood before them was a man who had lost control of his household, his image, and even his own narrative. The tell-all didn't just reveal tension, it revealed collapse. And Kody's rage, caught on camera for everyone to see, became undeniable proof of just how far he had fallen. While Kody's outburst at the tell-all grabbed headlines, another storm was brewing just beneath the surface, the long-simmering battle over Coyote Pass. For years, Meri and Janelle had quietly shouldered the weight of this dream. Both poured not only money but also emotional investment into the property, believing that one day the sprawling land in Flagstaff would be the anchor to hold their plural family together. It was supposed to be the fresh start after Las Vegas, the place where they would finally build homes side by side. But as the marriages crumbled, so did the fantasy. Season after season, the land sat untouched, a glaring reminder of promises Kody never delivered on. And while Robyn comfortably settled into a $900,000 home, Meri and Janelle were left with uncertainty, watching their investments sit in limbo. The breaking point came when Meri and Janelle decided enough was enough. Cameras captured them sitting down together, not as rivals, but as two women bonded by frustration and betrayal. For the first time, they openly discussed hiring lawyers. Meri's voice cracked as she admitted that the land was one of the few things left worth fighting for. It wasn't about polygamy anymore, or even Kody. It was about reclaiming something tangible after years of emotional loss. Janelle echoed the same, but with a different kind of weariness. She confessed she couldn't move forward in life until Coyote Pass was resolved. To her, the property represented closure. Whether she ever built on it or not, she needed finality, a legal line drawn under years of sacrifice. Kody, of course, wasn't silent. On camera, he scrambled to defend himself, spinning the narrative that he had always been fair. He insisted that dividing the property was complicated, that he had tried to balance everyone's needs, and that his vision was misunderstood. But fans saw right through it. His defensiveness looked less like fairness and more like control slipping away. Symbolically, Coyote Pass became much bigger than land. It was the last thread tying the family to the idea of unity, and by fighting over it, in lawyers' offices instead of around a kitchen table, Meri and Janelle made it clear. The dream was over. What was once the promised land of sister wives had become the final battleground, marking the death of the family's shared vision. Christine's sharp declaration during the tell-all that Kody had abandoned all of them, not just Meri, was more than a personal attack. It was a truth years in the making, and one that echoed far beyond the studio. Fans had watched the wives silently carry pain, but Christine's willingness to put words to that collective abandonment resonated deeply. It wasn't bitterness, it was clarity. What made her statement even more powerful was the contrast between her present and her past. Today, Christine's life with David Woolley is marked by laughter, love, and stability. She's free of the constant competition, free of the gaslighting, and free of Kody's endless excuses. When viewers see her glowing alongside David, they're reminded that peace was possible all along. She had simply chosen herself over the dysfunction. Meri, however, was still sifting through decades of emotional wreckage. For years, she had been the wife who clung to the ideal of plural marriage, even when it no longer served her. Now, with the family unraveling, she found herself questioning not only her marriage to Kody, but also her friendship with Robyn. Was it ever truly genuine? Or had Robyn positioned herself as Meri's confidant only to isolate her further from the others? That question cut to the heart of Robyn's carefully crafted persona. On camera, she wept and insisted she wanted unity. She played the role of peacemaker, the loyal wife fighting to hold everyone together. But fans saw something different, a woman who consistently benefited from Kody's favoritism while the others were left scrambling for scraps of affection and resources. The disconnect between her Diaz, and the reality was too glaring to ignore. This is why Christine's honesty struck such a chord. She called things exactly as they were, without apology or spin. Her bluntness gave fans validation. If Christine's truth was the emotional climax of the tell-all, Garrison's tragic passing was the heartbreak that overshadowed everything else. For years, viewers saw glimpses of his frustration, his anger toward Kody's blatant favoritism, his bitterness at watching Robyn's children receive attention while he and his siblings were left behind. His words were sharp but honest, and fans recognized the pain beneath them. Garrison wasn't just another voice in the family. He was the son who dared to hold his father accountable. When news of his death broke, it wasn't just a private family tragedy. It was a devastating reminder of the cost of years of neglect and emotional abandonment. The grief on screen was raw, but it also laid bare the deep fractures Kody had refused to address. Christine, Janelle, and the children leaned on one another, their grief binding them together in ways Kody could never understand. Meri, too, expressed sorrow, but her mourning carried the weight of decades of watching this pattern play out, of seeing children sidelined while Kody built his world around Robyn. Robyn's reaction, though emotional, raised questions for fans. Her tears flowed freely, but viewers couldn't help but notice how quickly the narrative shifted back toward her pain rather than the years of distance Garrison endured. That contrast made the grief even heavier, because at its core, this was about a young man whose struggles were overlooked until it was too late. The family's sorrow became symbolic. For Christine and Janelle, it was a final confirmation that Kody's choices had consequences beyond broken marriages. For Meri, it was another reminder of the silence she'd lived with for so long. And for fans, it became impossible to separate the tragedy from the dysfunction they had witnessed unfold season after season. Commentators and viewers alike pointed out the haunting truth. Garrison's loss wasn't an isolated event. It was the ripple effect of years of favoritism, abandonment, and denial. His passing underscored the reality that this was never just television drama. It was real lives being shaped and sometimes destroyed under the weight of polygamy's false promises and Kody's unchecked ego. In the end, the grief united much of the family, but it also cemented the distance between them and Kody. Where they found strength in one another, he was left exposed, isolated, defensive, and unwilling to confront the damage that had been done. With the tell-all finally wrapped, TLC made its move. The network announced that Sister Wives would take a season break before returning in April 2025. On paper, that sounds like business as usual, a pause before another season. But the reality facing the Browns couldn't be more fractured. 3 marriages are gone. Christine is remarried and thriving in a life Kody never imagined she would choose. Janelle has built a quiet independence, focusing on her children and future rather than the weight of broken promises. Meri has at last let go of the fantasy of reconciliation and is navigating what freedom looks like after decades of living for someone else's approval. The only union that remains is Kody and Robyn, and even that has shifted, no longer a piece of a plural structure, but a monogamous partnership wrapped in the ruins of polygamy. This is the paradox TLC is facing. The show began as a bold look into plural marriage, a chance to explore how love and family could function outside of monogamy. But now, that concept has collapsed under Kody's leadership. What was once marketed as unity has been exposed as favoritism, manipulation, and neglect. Fans are asking, what exactly are we watching anymore? The truth is, the collapse of Sister Wives is bigger than just one family. It reflects larger questions about control, independence, and survival. Kody's iron grip couldn't hold forever. Each wife, in her own way, chose herself. Christine chose love and joy. Janelle chose peace and stability. And Meri chose dignity and self-respect. In reclaiming their power, they showed millions of women that leaving isn't weakness, it's liberation. And yet, that doesn't mean the story is over. The children, from Leon to Gwendolyn, from Gabe to Aurora, carry their own voices and their own versions of the truth. The next generation may step forward, reshaping what this family means beyond Kody and Robyn's shadow. Whether TLC leans into that evolution or clings to what remains of Kody's fractured household remains to be seen. So is this the end of Sister Wives as we know it? Maybe. Or maybe it's just the end of Kody's reign and the beginning of something entirely different. Fans are left wondering, will the Browns quietly fade, or will the fractured pieces of this family continue to be laid bare on national television? One thing is certain. the story has shifted. What began as an experiment in plural marriage has turned into a raw portrait of resilience, grief, and women reclaiming their lives after years of silence. Hi friends, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm Sarah, and this has been TLC Sister Wives Daily. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is this the final chapter, or do you think TLC will keep the cameras rolling no matter what? Let me know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the Browns' unraveling story. Until next time, take care. And remember, your voice matters.